And one of the guys was throwing me all over the place. I go, wow, that's really cool. What is that? And he goes, this is a new Aikido Segal stuff. I said, blah, blah, blah. He goes like, nah, it's Kali. Oh, Kali, that's exotic. Wow, I want to learn Kali. What's Kali from? It's Filipino martial arts. I'm like, I'm Filipino. I never heard of Kali.
Welcome to the Martial Theory Podcast.
Doug, thanks so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here. We go back a long
We
ways.
go back a long time now, 20 years.
That's not like work. Never like been in this position here. So, put in the spot.
Here we are at Renaissance Martial Arts Festival, Marcaida this festival, Rochester, New York.
That's how we met. Over almost 20 years? I don't know. Yeah.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah,
right?
I saw you here for the first time, and I saw that there was something different in your expression of Filipino martial arts that I had seen before that. I was really intrigued by it. So let's give people a little bit of your background.
All right. My background. All my life, I used to do classical martial arts. I did kickboxing, boxing, taekwondo in the Philippines. I was born and raised in the Philippines. It was a passion to do martial arts. We have siblings, and just the background, martial arts is just a thing that I used to do. It also was therapy for me to get away from my aggression as an angry kid. Fast forward, I migrated to the U.S. I joined the U.S. Air Force. And then I wanted to get back into martial arts. At that time, it was in the 90s or late 80s. Steven Seagal was popular. He had Aikido Jiu-Jitsu. And so I thought, wow, I went back to our little MMA thing that we had going on with just a bunch of guys who were doing martial arts. And one of the guys was throwing me all over the place. I go, wow, that's really cool. What is that? And he goes, this is a new Aikido Segal stuff. I said, blah, blah, blah. He goes like, nah, it's Kali. Oh, Kali, that's exotic. Wow, I want to learn Kali. What's Kali from? It's Filipino martial arts. I'm Filipino. I never heard of Kali. Really? I'm like, where are your sticks and knives? He goes, really? And because he had a different understanding of Kali. You see, my understanding of Kali or Filipino martial arts in the old days was it was weapons-based stick fighting. And I go, only people with issues with confidence or something would result in that. I used to think it's a criminal element to use fight with weapons back home. And I had issues also with it because I had trauma. I was accosted. I was into gangs, young street gangs. And, knives were something I feared. I feared that. I had nothing. I didn't want it because of what had to happen to me when I was young. So one of the things the guy goes, fix your fear. So I'm like, if I face my fear and conquer it, maybe I won't be afraid of knives. So I did by training with him. And I was blown away. Not only did I conquer my fear of blades, I became addicted to it. Addicted to the blades, addicted to the impact training. And then that started my journey. I was able to find an instructor in about an hour in El Paso, and I met Edgar Solite, Lameco, they grabbed, and he started, and I was just blown away, like, wow. And I go, who do I follow? How did I learn? He wanted to go at the time. He goes, I was actually teaching in the Sato Academy. And Dan was learning from Guru Dan. I'm like, whoa, Guru Dan. So I started reading books on it. I became addicted to it. And I asked who he would recommend. He recommended Leo Guy. So I started and I found his first generation instructors. And then I eventually studied from him. And then after that, I branched out to so many different parts of Filipino martial arts because there's long range, medium range. Everybody's different. Everybody, because they bring with them their own history with it. And then once I realized that, I'll study from different people. Eventually, I'll come up with my own because that's what's going to happen. And that's how Marcaida Kali came to me.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, like, and follow. What takes 5 seconds for you actually means a great deal on our end. More than that, nothing is more powerful in our martial community than word of mouth. So please tell other martial artists you know about this podcast. Better yet, send it to them. And if you haven't already, please check out my book, Martial Theory, which has been called The Art of War for the Martial Arts, and which is available on Amazon in paperback, ebook, and audiobook formats. And if you want to join the movement of martial artists coming together to dig deep into martial arts theory and strategy, then join us at martialtheoryu.com, where a range of senior instructors and I provide instruction, articles, live events, Q&A sessions, discussion forums, and more. Martial Theory University is also where you can see instructors interviewed here demonstrate the concepts that they discuss on the podcast. And when you join us at martialtheoryu.com, please make sure you save 20% with the code MTPodcast. Finally, if you don't want to join us at Martial Theory University, but want to support the time and effort it takes to produce this podcast, then please support us on Patreon, which you can do for as little as $5 a month. But once again, if you join us in Martial Theory University, make sure you use the discount code MTPodcast for 20% off while it lasts. And now, this week's episode.
Part of your Kali experience and the reason you moved differently, and I actually talked about this in martial theory, you gave me the story I'm grateful for it. So I think it's such a great story on so many levels was your work with Tom Bizio.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
What was that transition?
Tom Bizio was the premier, one of the top students known in Takiti Tertia under Leo Gahe.
Yeah.
Because of his performance at a competition where he was only doing it for a year and a half. He went to a full contact sit fighting in the Philippines, and he was thrown in with the 4-year experts and everything else. But he moved so well, and his movements were amazing. He was powerfully. I wanted to learn from him. I was already learning from Bill McGrath, who I loved, and Omar Hakim. These were the first generation guys. But Tom was also in New York, so I had to approach it. I want to learn. And he goes, well, I really don't teach it anymore. But then I really do Chinese medicine and I do Chinese martial arts. Well, I learn Xingyi, but I want to learn Bikini because I'm already there. Being that he lives 6 hours away by drive, I go, I'll drive all the way 6 hours. I'll train for 2. I'll drive all the way, but I'll do that. And he thought, this guy's not going to do it. Sure, do it. And he charged a lot too. And this at the time, boom, I'll do it. I did it for 2 years because truly, he was an experience where my training, and I had a training partner I'd bring with me, we'd sweat. I swear to God, he's trying to kill us when we're training, right? And he grounded because he looked at me because by then I was already an instructor. I was teaching. And he goes, you're fast, but you have no power. Well, he's power with weapons. Yeah, but you understand, and would train. And I recorded it. And when I was watching it, I'm like, I actually look like I can hang. But truthfully, when I was doing it, I swear to God, at one instance, he had me. I was no balance or ever, no grounding. So he taught me a Filipino martial arts from a Chinese martial art and understanding point of view that really opened my eyes. He goes, the problem is that sometimes we're so into techniques, the disarms, the movements and everything else. We forget what wields the tool, what wields the weapon, the body. If you can make the body the perfect, shall we say, the core, everything else will be easy. All these techniques and everything, they don't mean anything if you don't have that core. And what it did was it truly just strengthened the way I performed. I was faster, not in the sense of speed, faster because I knew efficiency. I was more grounded. That's where the power comes from, not depending on the power of the body. Understanding how all this actually makes everything else that I do if you have that core. If you don't have that core, then all you have to result with is hitting harder. You have to result on using the weapon, as opposed to you don't really need that. How much power do you need to flick with a blade or hit with a stick and everything else? And even if I had to use my physical weapons, it's all physics from that point of view. And I truly appreciate it. Not that what I already knew wasn't effective, but it made me more efficient. I didn't have to get exhausted to get to the same point.
That's what I saw differently in you. In fact, the first time I saw you here in Rochester at the festival was that you had a different body movement, a different body understanding than what I'd seen in a lot of, at least the Filipino martial artists to that point that I'd experienced. So I'm curious as to this, Filipino martial arts, very popular now. It wasn't 20 years ago when we started. It's really taken off, which is great. It's such a beautiful system or collection, right? And certainly they're not all the same, but it's always known for its fluidity. It's always known for its transition. It's fluid training drills and so forth. I want to take a step beyond that. So if we take that part of it, we say, yeah, that's beautiful and it's wonderful. And it is fluid and it is adaptable and changing at all the times and so forth. That's a wonderful aspect of Filipino martial arts. Let's put it. We put that aside. What for you is distinctive about Filipino martial arts besides that, underneath that, as a collection of arts relative to other martial arts in the world? And every martial art has things that are distinctive, so I'm not putting anything else down. We take away the fluidity, or we put aside that fluidity that everyone talks about as the primary thing that I always hear people talk about. What's underneath it?
It always starts off with weapons. That's the different things. Other arts, they start with your empty hands first. And as you progress, you get to the weapon. Filipino martial arts was always a martial art not meant for, school. It was taught to family. It was created for combat. And as a tribal nation, when we first started, everything was about fighting your next tribe with weapons. He goes, well, they're learning how to, in a story putting, he's like, they're learning how to kickbox over there. Okay, son, here's a bolo. And you just do this. You survive that, you come back, I teach you more. Because weapons are truly the, shall we say, the highest percentage of survival. It's a survival fighting art.
Right.
So if you think about survival, you go with weapons. It's the, I wouldn't call it force multiplier.
Yeah.
You don't, here's the thing. If you're 5 years old and you punch, it's a 5-year-old punch. You're 90 years old, that's a 90-year-old punch. You're 22, that's a 20-year-old punch, right? Now put a knife in their hand. Changes things.
Yeah.
The knife is already dangerous, but it's more dangerous for bushes, but doesn't require that much strength. So the art form really teaches weapons first because they want you to survive. And later on, you start to realize, oh, I learned with single stick, double stick. And sticks are nothing more than a metaphor of a blade. But the safest way to train is with a stick, not with a blade right away, right?
Right.
So as you're learning distancing from different weapons and everything else, single stick, double stick, spade dagger, sword dagger, all flexible weapons and everything else, you start to realize at the highest point, those are not the weapons. Those are tools. You are the weapon. What I pick up is a tool. It's an extension of myself, but you have to remember, it's not the stick that made it dangerous. It's not the knife. You made it dangerous by understanding how to use it, how to adapt, improvise with whatever you pick up and make it effective.
Things starting with a weapon teaches you about your body or something else that we don't get if we're starting without the weapon. And you said Filipino martial arts kind of works in reverse, right? Because the weapon goes to open hand, where most martial arts will start empty hand, and maybe even get to a weapon for some students, it's years and years before they're even allowed to touch some system. What do you learn? What does starting with a weapon teach you about your body, teach you physically that is different?
First up, I think that having anything in your hands that is not part of you is harder to wield. The mind-body connection is different. I've seen this because a lot of times, very good with the hands, very good. Like, put a weapon in your hand, they're slowed down. They don't know what to do with it. I go automatically attack until you start to teach the connection. So if it's not part of you, it's very hard to ultimately control it. That's why when you do a knife, it's so easy. When you go with a longer stick, like that's even further from my being, it's a lot harder. But you don't realize that you are in control, but you have to get that distinction, because when we're talking about weapons from long range, everything, it's not about the distance to my opponent. It's a distance of the weapon to me, the wielder, so that I don't get cut with it. I don't get hurt with it. Also, it cleans up your training. Trainer, all right? So, for example, if I were to use, hold on. If I were to use a technique, I go, okay, let's go with this technique. I'm gonna here, and oh, he's gonna cut it. How about if I go here? Oh, he's gonna cut it. Or if I do, oh, he's gonna do that. Or if he punches here and I block this way and he cuts up that way. Well, what happens then? So the teacher goes, okay, then we do the same thing. You put a blade in your hand, and whatever technique is taught to you, you do it as if there was a knife. Then all of a sudden, the same technique that you learn with a weapon in your hand cleans it up. In other words, if I were to block this and come forward, if I did it this way, I would cut myself to come forward. How now do I can do it so in such a way where I'm not going to cut myself? So it's not so much that the technique is not functional. It's that if I had a blade, it wouldn't be as functional. So I'm going to get stabbed. I'm going to get cut and everything. So find something where you don't get stabbed and you don't get cut, and you still make it work. So what happens now is I'm safer. Well, I guess the answer was distance. Distance. Okay. What else? Oh, don't connect. Don't connect. What else did you learn from that? Because there are still techniques that actually work. And what happens is whether it's better or not, you're just safer. You're just safer. So the knife never lies. It cleans up your techniques. Whatever locks you're doing here, for example, if I'm always training with a hand, right? And I were to do this, now all of a sudden I learned how to do everything. I can lock you up. I can do this. I can do my third hand principle, because there's always something in my hand, whereas others would lock you up, would do this. And you see how all their hands are involved? I can do everything here is still that. So now it's my thumb. Or in here, I'm using the blade. Or I bring it out here, I'm using my armpit. Or so I can do because I have this.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, if I don't, I'm thinking faster, all I can fingers to use. It just changes the way you do stuff. Training with this just makes it hard. I think if as an athlete running on a track and field, right? You put a parachute on, slows them down. It's not more work. But the weapon, that's a weapon. But the minute you take the weapon out, boom, you let it go, you're 10 times faster. It's not, we don't have empty hands. My teacher always says, can't fight with hands. Why? This is for nothing. The weapon's the one that hits you. When you hit you, my flip-flops that hit you. And the grandma throws you with a hanger. Yeah, but the hands are for nothing. That's the idea there. Bottom line is, I can hurt myself with using this, right? This will never complain being used.
At the same time, is there a flip side to it? Because, do you feel as though some people starting to show up, martial arts, and maybe even some people who are teaching it, the weapon becomes a crutch, right? Because as you said, it's easy to cut somebody with a knife, especially if they don't see you coming, but it's easy to flip a knife around and feel deadly. Do people use that as a crutch too much sometimes?
Yeah, definitely. It is up to the teacher. So that's where I found great schools versus good schools. The great schools are the ones that teach you the responsibility of using a weapon. And we start off with side because you go to class. All right, here we go. Everyone pick up your weapon. Now train. How in the world are we both in the class already with training with weapons? You're teaching techniques right away. Why didn't you talk about the responsibility before that?
Yeah.
So before that, we discuss, all right, guys, here are the 5 elements of self-defense. If you're not in danger, you cannot put it. Equal armament, and all these different things that make the law. And then what the cost and consequence of cutting someone? We thought, here, I cut you. So once you put all these facts, and then you've pretty much gone through, I check off all these boxes, and you have to remind each other that this is going to happen in a society that we live in. Then we come into the training, because this is already like, we've met all the requirements of actually, I can use force on force and lethal force, or I can actually, elevate it. That's important. That's a good school that always says there's a preemptive, meaning that you can run away. No, 99% of my fights, I could have walked away. I look back in my life and I go, I could have walked away. It's my ego that made me stay. I could have walked away. My life was never that much in danger, right? So I could have made that choice. I didn't practice it. So if you have that, what I'm really here, because people go, you're here, you could have run. Not only that, if you punch me right now and ran, if I come after you, I ain't full. Right? Isn't that hard about being a martial artist and a warrior? We have this eye for an eye mentality. In the eyes of the law, it does not apply. It sucks, right? But that's where also you start to go, boom, and he runs away. I just made how much for suing this guy? Hey, by the way, you let the law jokes and everything else, but it's very hard for us. But when you get punched and you don't get up and he runs away, and knowing what I know, that's martial arts. That's control. I didn't let my emotions get up, and I could have. If I went after him, I get sued. I get in the court of law. I have to pay or whatever. I could get die, or he died or everything. My life is gone. I chose to not. Okay, he's not in danger. He ran. I live another day. I'm responsible. And the hardest thing is to control your emotions. But if I was able to rationalize that, I won. I won, because the hardest thing is to just, your egos fight back. You're lesser of a man. I'm greater of a man because I know my capabilities, and I chose that. I choose not to fight. That's the pride. We don't pat ourselves on the back for making the right choices. We let society tell them, what a coward. You let the pressures of everybody else, but we don't let our rational mind tell us. That's not the answer. You're right.
It's that same sort of that, well, it's only people who really know how to fight, or warriors who can choose to be peaceful. Everyone else just can't do it, right? But only a warrior who has the skills to hurt can make a decision not to and truly be a peaceful person.
It's hard. And there's also this. How many people that I know, because in the military, having trained in the combatants world that I've met, stay away from violence. They've got PTSD. They've got, trauma from it. They got, it's not worth it. I don't want to be around it. You don't know. You're all this.
Yeah.
A lot of people who want to get into fights, stop about fights and everything, have never been in a fight. That's when they think, I can survive a stab. I can get got. That's the movies. You can you're gone for 6 months or something. Or not only that, once you've crossed that line, I don't want to be reminded of it. You don't know what it's done to my life. That's why when you have instructors with a Cobra Kai, I'm like, that teacher doesn't care for your soul. Don't study underneath it. He's never fought. You fight, you do this, you take him, you choke him, you do that. Like, Really? And the minute your student does that, who's going to take care of their family?
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of their soul? Who's going to take care of the responsibility? You? No, you taught him the wrong thing. So martial arts really, like, going back to what you were saying, is Cal is a good school where it's one who truthfully studies that we are not developing just the body, but the mind, your emotions, and that you become a better person in life, not a bitter person in life.
Before we continue, just a quick reminder that if you want to see our guests demonstrating the theory they discuss here on the podcast, then join us at Martial Theory University by going to martialtheoryandtheletteru.com and make sure that you use the coupon code MTPodcast for 20% off while it lasts. Also, if you're enjoying thinking theoretically here, or even if you just enjoy thinking at all, and you want to learn more about it for your career, as a parent, or just for your own development, then please visit my Substack, Perlman Actual Intelligence, for tips, instruction, and discussion on critical thinking. Just go to Substack, Perlman Actual Intelligence.
One of the things that's the sort of the governing theory of my book, the first one I really talk about, is to control the chaos. That for lay people, a fight is chaos, and that if we're losing or we're getting kicked over, it's chaotic. And we want to feel like we're the ones in control. And I've heard you in a lot of your coffee talks and in other interviews and so forth, and just when you're teaching, talk a lot about, the aspect of maintaining control or things that emerge from control. But Filipino martial arts, I think when people look at Filipino martial arts and even a lot of Filipino martial arts, they're always talking about how chaotic things are. And I'm interested from a physical perspective, from a combative perspective. Controlling the chaos is obviously no less present in Filipino martial arts than any art, but I don't think it's given the recognition sometimes, because they're talking about, especially as weapons get involved, and there's things flying around doing double stick or spotty daga, everything looks like chaos, right? How does Filipino martial arts work to create chaos for the opponent and seize control for the self, so that it is a distillation of something that's in control instead of something that is chaotic?
Step one, know that all the chaos is in here.
Great.
Not out here. It's not a physical or thing. Oh, this blah, 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 blah. I don't want to be here. Chaos is gone. Very hard to do. Now, how do I figure works? Because in training, we're doing because I choose to engage. When we're doing all this, I spoke with a second, I walk away. I took myself out of the chaotic situation. But in training, I would have not recognized that that's all it took until I was in the chaos. Now, what we have is what we call structured chaos. It looks complicated. It looks that, no, in the beginning, that's why we call it drills as opposed to sparring. Drills are where we take combative moves, but in sequence, Ubud?
Yeah.
Right. So we'll play Ubud. 1, 2, 3, and then, Mike's a 3 count. I'm sorry. 1, 2, check. There you go. Like,
yeah.
So look, these are combative moves, right? And go with this. These are combative moves that we're doing here. Cut here, boom, nobody's getting hurt.
Right.
So we take combative moves and put it in a drill sequence. So in my mind, but I'm doing it with a partner, because we have the kinesthetic, the feel of the energy.
Yeah.
But when we train this, we're like, hey, Steve, long time no see. So there's a temperament. Our temperaments here, we're doing combative moves, structure so nobody gets hurt. To try to get your emotional feeling that you can move like this without getting angry.
Yeah.
Now, this is chaotic for a lot of people when they watch. But they don't want to go, well, that's very structured. Yeah, in the beginning, it has to be structured because I have to remove my fear of the actual combat. So if I'm worried, every time you feed me and I'm afraid, I will not use what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Now, if I tell you, you're going to do this, nobody's going to hurt each other here.
Right.
We're going to be this way. So I can actually do this without being in fears. If I was like,
Yeah. Right.
like, it's like training to shoot. When you train to shoot, is the target shooting back at you? No. The target receives. I am very confident. I'll do this. Same thing in training. But to people, it's chaotic because they see the motions until they're in it. Exactly. I mean, we can actually do it with our eyes closed because we trust each other.
Yeah.
So once you start developing that trust, that I can express my emotions and everything else, then we start adding stimulus. Now, all of a sudden, if it's here, then I go, whoa, and we'll do that, right? That's your reaction. And here, whoa, for those here, and then like that. And whoa, we put that element. So no, so I'm always constantly taking the same motion, adding the stimulus. And then later on, we add more and more. And then later on, you have to only respond a certain way. So we're building on the idea that you use your skills against a chaotic response that's unknown. And that basically is sparring.
Right.
But before sparring, just like in boxing, I like to follow fighting systems that have proven themselves that they look the way they train is when they fight.
Yeah.
Boxing, kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? Everything else, if they're like doing forms and everything, when they actually spar, it's like point fighting, like there's something missing there. So if you look at this, they start off with basically knowing the proper fundamentals of motion. Then they shadow box. Then they start hitting a bag. Now the bag, it becomes the trainer that you hit something. And then after that, he throws a shot there. And so we go into sparring. And that's where you use your skills. So because you do all that and you slowly took that step by step and you're getting better and better and better at it, you're actually controlling the chaos.
Yeah.
And then in the end, you start to realize that because you train your body to do this and start to make the mind and body connection, that becomes a part to where the physical now is no longer an issue. It's all mental. It's all emotional. So once you understand that, then you realize in all my training, it was my mind that was always the number one thing to do.
Exactly. Control. Yeah.
A lot of times we don't have that because it's hard for the mind to say everything else if the body doesn't follow.
Right.
There is no confidence. The minute I can, oh my gosh, I can do this. Well, who taught you to do that? The mind. Whereas I go, you do this, you do that. But the mind never told the body, the body cannot follow. The mind is trapped in the body. The body has to be able to do what the mind says. And unless the mind is able to control the body, the mind won't realize of itself.
Yeah.
I'm in control. And now my body sits still. There's chaos. I'm still in control. Body, don't move. You don't have to react. Now let's go.
What was in your growth as a martial artist? What was a real pivotal moment for you? We always have our own moments along the way, but what was one point in your martial journey in terms of your skill sets, your understanding of the arts that was pivotal for you and really catapulted you to a new place? Change in mindset, a paradigm shift, got your ass kicked sometime. What was it that did it?
I think it was the realization that the more I did martial arts in the beginning to be more violent, is that I turned it to something spiritual. I turned it that the more I did this, the more I don't ever want to do this to anyone. And there's got to be a way to continue to practice and make sense to where it's actually not about anymore my physical being in this world, but for the next level. I have to be able to understand that how can I make my martial art closer to my creator and live according to his will. It became, I would say, religious. I'm more spiritual, right?
You say that sort of freed you in a sense from the grind of training and looked at it like you took the pressure off in a sense, right? The martial aspect of the training.
It's still martial because having to control that emotion thing. So in other words, it's very hard for me to sit down because of my ADHD and everything else to meditate. But if I pick up a weapon, I start moving the weapon, I am at peace. You have combative moves, but I am at peace. I am not angry when I'm doing it. When I do forge and fire, and I'm cutting stuff. I'm destroying stuff without anger. As a matter of fact, I did more effective without anger. So I still go to my martial way for my physicality, but it's really about my spirituality that grounds me. When did that happen? When I almost lost, I guess, myself through violence, through anger. There are a lot of issues that I had to face. And I was like, is my martial art truly saving me from myself? And when I was able to say, well, okay, when you train, are you angry? Are you able to do this and everything else? Yes. Okay, can you change it? Still in training. Yes. Follow that path. Follow that path. They say, there's this thing I talked about, that a warrior, because when we're training, right? Survival art. When you're young, you are a warrior. The warrior grows old the day he is no longer feared. On a realization, I was like, that is the saddest thing, isn't it? We were talking about it was a bravado thing. But you see, our teachers are still warriors. Why? Because they're still feared with a blade in their hand. They're still feared when they carry a weapon and everything. So we tend to become older and still will be feared because we're weapons guys. Other guys, they can't box anymore. They can't grapple. When they're older, the next lion comes up and he's not afraid because he's stronger. But we're always stronger with a weapon, a bravado. Then I realized years later on, a warrior grows old when he's no longer feared, became a warrior grows old. And it's okay. A warrior should grow old, and a warrior will die.
Yeah.
Right. Then it became a warrior grows old when he's, no longer feared. Should be a warrior grows old and is not feared but respected.
Respected.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because I thought about that. Even if I'm older, I carry this and everything else. Do I want to be feared by my loved ones? I screwed up. I never understood what martial arts was about. Instead, I want to be loved in my old age. I want to be respected, not feared by those that I love or people around me. That's the ultimate goal. And then I should die. I don't want to hold on to this. The next one comes up. It's okay. That is the cycle of life.
Yeah. I think respect is such a great word. It's so important for the martial community that we respect one another as we're training with one another, respect our elders, certainly, who've come before us.
It's a foundation.
Right.
When we come into the dojo, the first thing we do is show respect. The first thing. And when you train, always. So that's what I love about martial arts. It's the first thing you do. Everything is secondary.
That's right. Really well put. You've been teaching a long time now. You teach all over the world. I'd love to hear a piece of advice from you to other teachers who are coming up in the arts, or teachers who have been teaching for a long time. We can all use a benefit of hearing a different piece of advice, a different insight into teaching the arts. Listen to your student. That's one thing. What do you mean by that? Your students become your teachers when you listen to them, because they'll ask questions. Don't listen to them. They're asking a question for a reason. And the reason they're asking this should come up. You should come up with an answer, but you should learn to empower your student, which is different. A lot of goes, that's white belt. Well, you've still been doing all that. I'm so above. I like to teach where I'm even with you because I want to empower you. I want you to be able to gain confidence in what I'm showing. And you are always a powerful person, regardless of what it is. Today, you may not have the skills that I have, but you have your own skills and you grow from your skills. I think as teachers, we need to give them that confidence, because in this world they walk, I'm only good in the dojo when I teach, here forces me and everything else. Build them. Because when you build them, later on, you'll see that it's not just for the dojo. It's who they become in life. Teaching at RIT, right? So I used to teach at the Institute of Technology. My students, and it was a wellness course for Kali, they were already introverted, brainiacs and everything else, but their social skills, the way they were, just totally different. I made my classes empowering. I made it fun. I told them, they're so afraid of, am I doing this right? Are you having fun? One thing I had, you have to laugh. What do you mean? You have to laugh? Because the guy I had a friend of mine, I was gone. He took the class. I came back. They were all afraid. What happened? Well, they were so disrespectful and everything. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is a wellness class. So I thought everybody will start laughing. What happened from that up to this day? I have guys who actually went into law enforcement, military, any of the three initials that you want, to get that, who come back and say, man, you built our confidence so much because you were helpful. We didn't fear you. We didn't fear the class. We respected what was going on. And that built them outside. They're not even martial artists anymore. Right.
But the confidence level, you see, that's why I say martial arts is life.
Yeah.
You don't have these skills of fighting. I do that living. It made them a better person in life, not a bit.
I love that. Last question. Got people around the martial arts world listening to us all over the world. They got to hear this podcast and see it. If there's a message you want to send out to people in the martial arts world today, what's the message?
It's my favorite motto. It will kill. Keep everyone alive follows what I would say. It's not about how many you hurt. It's about how many you can protect.
Okay.
Think about that. Live it.
Great advice. Doug, thank you so much for your time.
Always.
Please share the work we're doing here with other martial artists. And of course, please subscribe and follow. To see instructors interviewed here demonstrate the theory they discuss, join us at Martial Theory University by going to martialtheoryu.com and make sure you use the discount code MTPodcast for 20% off while it lasts. Finally, if you generally enjoy thinking and want to learn more about it, then please join my Substack, Perlman Actual Intelligence.